Enough of Maria Callas. Hello, everybody. A beautiful woman, a beautiful song, beautiful voice. And no matter how much she tried to be slim, to be beautiful, to study, to sing this magnificent bel canto, her man whom she adored, Onassis, ditched her without any ceremony and married Jackie Kennedy. Subject of my talk today is a social narcissism inspired by the recent events involving royal family and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. I, at the beginning, want you all to know that I dedicate this video to all my patients, to everybody I served and worked with, people who kindly accepted my humble help, being Polish, coming here with no word of English, greatly accepted by this magnificent country, become my own home, who have so much acceptance, so much whimsical interest in everybody, despite their colors and nationalities and religion. And I am example of that. Whether people came from upper class or not so upper class, whether they were Hollywood people or models or humble people from various walks of life, whether they were Black or Chinese or Africans or Americans, I have been privileged and honored to work of them all. So I dedicate this video to you all, and I hope that you will like it. And first of all, let me just thank Amanda for this magnificent scarf. That was years ago where Amanda gave it to me. And thank you all subscribers. We are growing. And as usual, I put my glasses on and quote something which Stephen Fry said about America, and I thought that it's very apt in this situation and this video. But at the beginning, I quote a Buddhist quote, which was what I read today. Be careful who you let on your ship, because some people will sink the whole ship just because they cannot be captains. Very good, isn't it? Just because they cannot be captains. The rage, especially socioholics, especially social climbers, especially terrifically narcissistic people would do that. Another lovely thought which I always think about it myself and tell many people I work with, nice people not necessarily fell in love with the nice people. Now I quote Stephen Fry, wonderful quote, really amused me. Self-pity will destroy relationship. It will destroy anything that good. It will kill it all. It will kill it because it lives only itself. It is so simple to imagine that one is so hard done and that things may be, unfair and all the rest of it. All those things may be true, but to pity oneself is really useless. I think it's one of the things we find very uninteresting about the American culture, and it is mostly in America. I like America, but I cannot imagine why this self-pity is ravening so many programs, and I see that in their talk show. It is an appalling spectacle, and it is so destructive. I almost once wanted to publish a self-help book. American is good at self-help books, you know. They are really make money out of sneezing, let alone two sentences put together. So I once almost wanted to publish a self-help book saying How to Be Happy by Stephen Fry. Guaranteed success. And people buy this book, and it is going to be all blank pages, and the first page will just say, stop feeling sorry for yourself, and you'll be happy. Use the rest of the pages to write your hobbies and your interests and all the rest of it. And don't think for a moment that it is very simple to not feel happy, sorry for yourself. It is bloody hard, and it is all in the book of Genesis. Isn't that marvelous what he said? And I agree with him. I was appalled by this interview as a woman, as a therapist, as a person who herself carries recovery from various aspects of narcissism, and at the reaction, particular American reaction to this unfortunate interview. Once said, if any of the great avatars, Buddha, Jesus, Krishna, Muhammad, were present in human form on this planet today, what would they be doing? I doubt they would be posting selfies. One of the quotes which I like and use a lot, Nassim Taleb said, half of the people lie with their lips and other half with their tears. And hence my subject about social manipulations, about the puzzling people, about the narcissism, or one aspect of narcissism, as there are many, many different aspects of narcissism, and there are so many wonderful people who already have endless amount of fabulous videos, books, and story to tell. So I'm only concentrating on this social climbing aspect of narcissism and the aspect of the narcissistic character disorder. We all have narcissistic traits. We are unescapably, plagued with the pueruses and puellas, and it's our job to grow out of it. However, that not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something which is much more stuck, crystallized, which we clinicians call disorder. As one colleague of mine always say, if you deal with narcissistic character disorder, be prepared that they're all lying. And it is indeed correct that compulsive lying is part of it, part of the protection. It is important, therefore, for us to comprehend that once we are connected to, and usually the scheme is that very high dose narcissists would be attracted to empathetic people, confused people, or needy people, and we will create this magic for them, so to speak. Magic which would, as my glasses collapse, magic which would be not that necessary magical after a while. As Dr. Ramani, one of the prominent expert and professor of psychology, always say, with the narcissistic relationship, we always believe that one day when we invest a lot, that something else will happen. But this something will never ever actually happen. This something will never be appearing in our life. And I always say that true really humanity and true humility is when we surprise ourselves. Not that we surprise other people, but that we exceed ourselves. And a real love, it's about sacrifice. Real love is of course very rare. We hardly ever are able to laugh. That kind of two little sisters or two people who kind of come together because it's a trauma bonding, because it's a narcissist coming with the codependent, because it's a attractions, fatal attraction, so to speak, and that usually end up in tears. Normally, as a rule, the codependent, more empathetic person would suffer sufficiently until collapse of some kind, and those people have much better chance to grow spiritually and mature, because narcissists basically stays the same. They don't go anywhere. Neither do they make themselves better, or they're interested in making themselves better, because narcissists, especially social climbers, especially very, very hungry for fame. That's very addictive. Fame can be addictive. High-powered jobs, they're very useful in high-powered jobs, because they get their narcissistic strokes from those high-powered jobs. So they can be manipulated, maneuvered often. But these social climbers are very skillful. They, because the narcissistic character disorder people are very revengeful people, they very often have laundry lists. They very often take care that they remember every harm which is done. They turn things around. That's called gaslighting. They use their charms. They use the tears. They use the sort of sadness. So when the general public listen to that kind of situation, they feel pity for them, or they feel pity for the person. But actually, that's a ploy. They don't bother with anything else. That's the ploy. Because with people like that, what seems to be, it's not. It's a completely different thing. The whole investment is about persona. It's about what I call a social PR. But persona, they will kill. They were not going to want to give it away. They are very skillful at observing and noticing what's going on. And of course, for instance, the difference between, say, a person who's got no regards for human being and narcissists at high end of NPD, as we call it, is that narcissists very often take care of their mirrors. Mirrors, i.e. reflective glory. So they will take care of their husbands and wives if they need the supply. Whereas somebody who's got some just disdain about people, they will dump them. So that's the difference, yes? So that would create an illusion that this person loves you. They have no capacity for love, as a matter of fact. No capacity for empathy. They're very much a deal makers. It's all contraction, and it's all about contract, and it's about what can you give me, what can I get out of you? And that is unfortunately always the case. Their opinion is very important to them. Creating good image is very important to them. But actually, that takes their energy, and that's they never kind of mature or grow, because they're actually not interested in it. They can remember for a long time. They can remember what harm they've done. They're very good at revenging. They can wait 10, 20 years. I remember what chilled my blood in this interview, unfortunate interview for everybody concerned, and I really feel sorry and for everybody, because there is always only suffering. There's no victory. There's only victims. When Oprah quite unconsciously shared somewhere the situation, how Meghan was feeling after this interview, and Oprah said, yes, she asked me, how is it going? I can assure you that the statement, how is it going, is really, truly just giveaway of a social climber narcissist. How is it going? Have I kind of stared enough? Have I achieved what I wanted? That's a kind of revenge. That's kind of laundry list, and that's point scoring, a sort of a children's play. They don't like when people set boundaries, because if you set boundaries with that kind of people, they get angry with you. When you try to protect yourself, they will be, really going nuts. They very often don't have sense of humor, because they are so absolutely sold to make themselves important and to make sure that you pity them and make sure that they affect that with pity, that they will not actually laugh. They laugh when life goes well for them. They are fantastic. They're like children. They're happy. They're charming. But God forbid if life doesn't go for them in the same way. They leave enormous amount of victims behind. I remember a few years ago, Maudsley Hospital, psychiatric hospital, had conducted a study who has got nervous breakdowns and who is actually coming to hospital. And what they concluded, that because that type of narcissist very often also addicts, very much damaging families, partners, that the people who had nervous breakdowns were the partners of these people, not the people themselves. Yeah, the narcissists, the egocentrics, they will have their food, whether it will be a praise or whether it will be a drug, whether it will be a sex, whether that will be a money, or whatever it would be. There's an element of great sadistic parts. We all have them, but what I'm talking about is a disorder which is a crystallized position, very difficult to move. So here you are, and I was not surprised. I was part of my study when I was younger. So that means that things and of that nature, relationship of that nature will probably not always do well. The other thing which narcissists do is that they split. In other words, they're not terribly peace-loving people. They make sure that the people around them quarrel or that they are not satisfied with themselves, because that would give them a fantastic entry to manipulation. I read you something which is a perfectly wonderful quote in a minute, but just come back to the fact that for all the suffering of the narcissists and for all their manipulation, they are very well received, particularly nowadays, in banks, in big industry, organizations, because they crave praising. And they very often achieve quite a high position in this situation. And people who work around them, they will, if they want to go further, they will smear campaign, they will gossip, they will damage, they will destroy. And there was a gentleman whose name, forgive me, I don't remember, I cannot say to you. It called the book he wrote calls Puzzling People. This gentleman worked in a bank and eventually collapsed from the shock of how enormous amount of people who were employed, who had a bigger position, were actually sociopaths. And he dedicated his life to just go to conferences and talk about it. Sam Vaknin, who wrote the book, one of the first experts on narcissism, always talks about it, how narcissists, character disorder, malignant narcissists, as he calls them, love inflicting fear in people, because they like that you frighten of them or that you crave their attention, so you can kind of feel omnipotent and omniscient with that. So, and he's one of the many people whom I recommend to people I work. Whether the narcissist or high narcissist or particularly social climber, particularly narcissistic character disorder is your husband or your wife or your brother or sister or your co-worker or church person or neighbor or boss, anyone of that ilk, when you come to contact with you, always remember that their behavior would be exactly the same, their attitudes would be the same. So pay attention to how they behave, not what they say. Some of them, especially charismatic people. They have a high range of seduction going on, and they usually very good at sing-song how they love you. As far as women are concerned, one of the things a story I always tell to people is the story about Medusa, or a witch possession, Medusa possession. That's why Italians always talk about Medusa and how to get rid of Medusa. The Perseus had a sword to cut the head of Medusa, and as he cut one head, two grew. As he cut two, four grew. So you have to have a very clear comprehension what you're dealing with, and you have to be very precise. In a sense, you don't go to battle with narcissistic character disorder, particularly if they're so sold to go as far to the top as they decided, because they will remove you. It's that principle, you die so I may live. So you need to be sure that you either go in a quite different position, you don't look straight into their eyes, as they say, but you open the curtains, like with the witch. The witch is destroyed when you put some light in it. So you have to be prepared. Otherwise, if you go for kill, basically, because it's either you or them. That's why the story of Medusa is such a fantastic story. I always think that anybody who believes that they're irreplaceable gurus, occult people, they would be of that kind. The gurus very often would be a very high end of narcissistic character disorder people. As I always say, that you give to these people 90% of your attention, of your time, of your love, particularly if you're empathetic, and they give you 10, and only when they want something from you. Because everything which comes from them is always about what can I get? It's either a lie. They like being a hero. They like being victims. They either cry or they're heroic. They never villains. Villains, they're not. Villains is the people they project their rubbish and shadow on. So they are just a subject of a gross misjudgment of their character. Even, if you get hold of tremendous grief and you don't get over it or anything, when you sort of wallowing of self-pity, it could be narcissistic. You can use that to create some sympathy for yourself. Because they don't learn from their mistakes, they don't have reflective capacity. They actually God's creation, which is slightly tough for us to have around, as we all have to grow from our own sort of queruses and puellas, as Eric Fromm would put it. I quote at the end Eric Fromm in a minute. So we all have narcissistic traits. I can tell you, and I've already told you about various traits I've got, in particular intellect. My brain was what helped me to survive. So you need to remember that neither of us is spared. But because they're devoid of any empathy, they're devoid of anything, they would always make sure that they project all that on somebody else. Empathetic people very often destroyed by the narcissist, and usually that's how it ends. But the destroying doesn't mean that they cannot grow. Empathetic person, empath as we say, can grow spiritually, whereas narcissists don't. They don't care what they're doing to others, and I dare say, unfortunately, that I have been immensely shaken by this whole situation, because I know that this was first of all incredibly stupid to do on all accounts, and also the reaction of Americans, the sentimental lot. I value what a pity that this poor love, it's so badly done by England. So it is really, truly, slightly, slightly unfair. Unfair, of course, because I've been here for nearly 50 years, and I can chat to her about it, what England is all about. Nobody bothered about my Polish accent and whether they were ambassadors, generals, or bankers, they tease me about it, but hopefully I help them adjust a bit, or the process help them. So let me just quote something from Eric Fromm, which is glasses. My glasses are broken. Can I have another one? There is my engineer who gives me glasses. Here you are. Isn't that lovely? My adoring engineer. So, as I mentioned, Puerus and Puella, I want to read you Eric Fromm, who is a remarkable thinker, who put it very, very, very nicely. That is the book which is called The Art of Loving. And it's about our narcissistic orientation. The main condition for the achievement of love is overcoming of one's own narcissism. The narcissistic orientation is one in which one experiences are real and that which exists within ourselves, while the phenomena in the outside world have no reality in themselves, but are experienced only from the viewpoint of being useful or dangerous to one. The opposite pole to narcissism is objectivity, and to be able to separate these objective pictures from a picture which is formed by one's desire and tears. So it is about growth. Steve Marabon, who talked about his own battle with narcissists, once said, "I love them so much that I used to drive myself crazy trying to figure out why they were hurting, why they betray me so easily, what was happening in their life that led them to treat me so abusively. Then, in the moment of clarity, I realized I am not a narcissistic whisperer, and freed myself from that toxic behavior." Isn't that lovely? Somebody else once said, "Please repair your narcissism before you start loving your neighbor as yourself." Let's say serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Bye for now.